Welcome back to the We Are Everywhere podcast. Episode number 8 is underway. And real quick, before we get into the actual episode, if you want to be on a future episode, this is the email. Just shoot me an email or a DM. If you're just listening, it's sttf.weareeverywhere@gmail.com. Shoot me a DM or an email. We'll get you scheduled and get you on a future episode. This episode is going to be a fun one because there's not really a direct way. Well, there is a direct way to say how we've met before, but it's through a message board. That's the word I was looking for. We met through a Phish message board, so it doesn't get much nerdier than that in a Phish realm. So the guest for episode 8 is Heath Kearns, or JP Fishman, or PDX Heater. What's up, man?
Hey, Clay.
How are you?
Good, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I wondered how quickly we'd get into the
POG.
Pog. It's all about the Pog, really.
So for those of you that are listening that are on the POG, this is not going to be anything new. But for those of you that don't know what the POG is, and I feel like it's a lot of people, maybe they know what it is, but the core group that's on there is pretty small. And I'm talking like I'm part of that core group because I definitely am not on there as much as some people are, but that's how we originally met and knew each other, and then saw each other at a show. Was it Chicago?
Yeah.
Is that our first
UIC?
No, I wasn't at UIC. I'm talking about Northerly Island.
Oh no, I was
No, I don't know. Or was it Dick's? Maybe this is gonna be.
Could have been Dick's.
It could have been Dick's, but either way, before we hit the show or met at the show, we met online and met Dave. I think Dave was episode 3. So you're part of that collective. You're part of that group too. For the people that don't know what the POG is, give kind of just like a little quick synopsis of what the POG is.
Well, I mean, there's a long history of like internet forums and Phish internet forums going back to like rec.music.phish. That was going back in, I don't even know when it started, but I got on there in like 2.0 after I started getting into it. But POG is just a small week4pog.net. It's just a smaller. It's a boutique message board. It's really what it is.
That's such a good way to put it.
Most people probably heard of, well, not most people, but most music or jam band people know about Fantasy Tour.
Yeah. I feel like that's the big one that everyone kind of hops on. And the POG is an interesting place. And like I said before, I haven't been on there in quite a while, but there's a very, what's the right word? Adolescent or grade school way of welcoming people on. I remember whenever I first got on, I was like, oh, this is cool. My buddy, or Jackson, I forget his name on there, Zimbra. He was like telling me about it, and like I'm getting into Phish. And I was like, oh, cool. This is going to be a cool thing, So I hop on. I'm like, hi, everybody. Everybody's like, beat it, nerd. Like, pound sand, like, get out of here. And I'm like, oh, shit. Okay. And I was like, dude, I don't think anybody likes me on there. I was like, is it my screen name? He was like, no, dude, they're just like hazing you. Like, that's how it goes. But it's cool, man. I've met a lot of cool people on there, you included. And then whenever I made my way to Portland from Oklahoma, we actually got to meet up at a few jaunty shows at the Goodfoot. I think that was the last time that we actually kicked it together, was at one of those shows at the Goodfoot. Yeah, dude, I miss the Goodfoot.
I have not been back there in a long time.
Has it even been open?
I think they are having shows there once in a while, but
COVID kind of shut everything down. From what well, let's get right into some Phish. Because, and even though like we've met before and hung out, I don't know your whole story, so this is going to be kind of like a learning experience for me too. So
Cool.
going way back, when and where did you first hear Phish? What like hooked you? Was it a CD? Was it a tape?
Sure.
How'd you get into it?
Well, just a little context is that I was born in '82, grew up
Okay,
here in Portland. I'm an only child, so I think those are important things as far as like, a lot of people had older siblings that introduced them to Phish or something like that.
sure.
East Coast bands. So a lot of the people I know that are into Phish are from the East Coast or from the Midwest or had older siblings. But I didn't have any of that. I didn't play in Portland that often. When I was just a kid, I had no idea when they were, I was a junior in high school listening to like Blink 182 and Sublime when they were dropping the California Love Tweezer like a few miles from where I was. I had no
Yeah.
idea. But I remember the first time I ever heard of Phish was on the local news in '96. I remember seeing the rainbow Phish logo, the classic logo, on the local news for the first time, and they were talking about Phish fans rioting in Morrison, Colorado. And
Oh
this
shit.
was the sold out Red Rocks run, the whole incident, and
Yeah.
people laying in the street and bottles getting thrown and whatever happened. I don't even know the full story, but
Like you guys
that's
aren't coming back.
I knew nothing about the music. I remember, I was like a freshman in high school thinking like,
Mhm.
that sounds crazy. Those people. be
Yeah.
intense.
Weirdos.
Little did I know I'd become one of them.
Yeah.
Um, so, I didn't really know anything about Phish until I went to college, and the guy across the hall from me, Ben Hameen, he was from Indiana and he was real into it. He had all the Grateful Dead tapes, tons of Phish tapes, seen Phish a ton, and he was the first one to really like send me down the rabbit hole in a number of ways. um, so, he introduced me to it, but I didn't really seek it out. And then when they were playing the Gorge in '03. That was my first show, 7/12/03.
Very cool. I don't off the top of my head, I don't have that one memorized. Are there any like major highlights that you remember from that
Um,
show?
well, it was the second set they played Tweezer, Ghost, and Bowie.
Oh wow.
So it was pretty massive. Most people remember that run for the next night because they played like first set, closing Yem, and Seven Below that people
Cool.
really love to talk about. But I was not there for the second night,
Oh, you just hit the one?
which is really unusual. You go to the Gorge and make the trek up there, you stay usually, right?
Yeah.
But there's some backstory to why that all happened. As many people are when they first get into Phish, I was a broke college student.
Right.
Summertime in between my sophomore and junior year, I guess, or maybe junior and senior. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, I was a firefighter at the time. This is how I
Oh,
made
no shit.
money during the summers, fighting forest fires, right? So we bought tickets to see Phish, but like we're broke and we have these Phish tickets, and you're just like waiting for the call. I was living in Eugene, went to U of O, and you're just waiting for the call to go on a fire and go make some money, right?
So you went to the Gorge knowing that you're just on call.
Exactly,
Oh my
exactly.
god, dude.
And I had some friends that were like, "We're not doing it." My girlfriend at the time was like, "We can't risk missing it." I was like, "I can't risk missing this. I have to see this concert. I have to find out what this is all about." Right.
Yeah.
So, we get a car full of people, like four of us go together, and we're like, we're just going for the one show and we'll get back on time. So not even knowing like how special the Gorge is and that it's a whole experience of staying there. I go a day early and stay as long as they'll let me at this point.
Yeah. So up until that first show, had you been to the Gorge before for any other
No,
shows, or this is the first time
no.
for Phish and the Gorge?
Yeah, yeah. I had
Wow.
no idea what I was getting into. I just
Yeah.
knew how much people loved the band, and like what Ben had always told me, the guy that lived across the hall from me freshman year, he's like, they're the best band ever. Like, it's not even close. He was so convicted about it.
Yeah.
Like, I have to see this band. So I didn't have any live Phish recordings. We had a handful of the studio albums that my girlfriend at the time had. So we were just like listening to the Story of the Ghost and Hoist on the drive up,
Just the studio cuts.
just trying to prepare ourselves, and that
Yeah.
did not prepare us at all.
No, it's kind of hard to prepare with studio going into the live realm,
Yeah, yeah. And so many things about that stick out to me. Like that first show, I remember just being blown away by the crowd. Even like before the show started, I'd never been around that many people that were that psyched and just like joyful. Like there's just nothing like it,
Yeah, it's really bizarre because I remember my first show in Miami '09. Like, I knew somewhat about the culture, but had never been immersed to that level. I was like, "Oh shit! Like there's a lot of these people."
Yeah.
It was kind of the same experience as I'm sure everyone's first trip down that Phish rabbit hole is.
hmm hmm Yeah, so I remember they started out, they opened with Taste. So that's the first song I ever saw them play. But just when they walked on stage, the reaction everybody had, you've got like adults skipping like school children down the pathways,
Yeah,
just like total euphoria, like on the first note,
yeah.
and the way they just like had everybody there in the palm of their hand the whole show, and the way that the whole place seemed to transform with each song and how many different places it could go. I was blown away.
So at that first show, like you said, you were listening to the studio cuts on the way there. How like how familiar were you with the band? Like from your the person that lived across from you in the dorm? Like, were you like, hey, I know that they're gonna like jam. I know they're gonna do this, or was it just pretty much a new
Yeah,
experience?
I really just went in having no idea.
Gotcha.
You know, listen to some studio cuts that didn't
Yeah.
didn't really do the trick. And for whatever reason, even though Ben had told me Phish is the greatest band and everything, like he like gave me Pink Floyd CDs and stuff, but he never really sat me down and was like, watch this or listen to this.
Yeah.
Uh, so he like showed me the path, and then later on I had to go discover it for myself, kind of thing.
So, how long after that first show were you like, okay, this is a thing? Was it immediate, or did you have to like get a few more shows under your belt, or was it just
Yeah,
like I'm in full?
it was pretty immediate. I mean, so we left uh, after the show, drove a little ways down the road, and ended up like sleeping in sleeping bags next to the Columbia River. Basically, some dude comes and like kicks our sleeping bags in the morning. He's like, "Hey, you can't sleep here."
Yeah.
We're like, "Oh, get up, drive back to Eugene. Our friends are waiting for us. They just called. Let's go." So it all worked out beautifully.
Oh, so there was a
Got
fire?
back to Eugene, went on the fire, made the money. You
Oh my
know,
god.
things
Dude,
worked out
what
better.
a
We didn't miss out.
yeah, no, that's I mean, the perfect I mean, that's I'm not saying like a fire factoring into that is perfect by any means, but like as far as
Right.
like hitting the show the night before and then like getting back in case it were to
Yeah.
happen, it's like you couldn't have
Yeah.
asked for a better setup.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty memorable. But that drive home, I mean, we must have listened to the Story of the Ghost album like freaking 10 times because they
Just
played
had it.
Ghost. And that
Yeah.
was the real standout for me of the show, was that jam. I think it was like 18 minutes or something. And it was just a vibe unlike anything I'd ever experienced before.
Yeah, and
Um,
especially at the Gorge. I mean, like I remember this is whenever I was living in Portland, it was my first time to the Gorge and seeing Phish. And it was just like whenever you come over that hill, it's like forget that the band's even there. Just like the view and like seeing what you're seeing is like,
yeah.
oh my God. And then you put your favorite band on top of it. It's like, oh my, like this is amazing. So
Yeah, and all your best friends right
yeah,
there with you.
yeah. It's like, is this heaven? Did I die?
It really does
So
have that feeling.
I'm assuming since that first trip to the Gorge, have you been back to see Phish at the Gorge since then?
Oh yeah, many times. It's my most the venue I've seen them the highest number of times.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, 2016 at the Gorge, that where you were at that one?
Yeah.
That might have been where we first linked up
Okay.
because I was there with Jackson,
Yeah.
and I think now that we're talking about this, it's coming back. I'm pretty sure that's where we had first met. But so after '03, your first show at the Gorge, um, what did tours look like for you after that? Were you like, okay, now Phish is releasing, tour dates. I'm gonna plan out, my trips during the summer, or like how far along after that were you diving
Yeah,
in?
I wasn't quite at the point of like I'm gonna fly to the East Coast or something. I just like had that first experience and I was like, okay, I need to like dive in and learn about this and listen to other shows and stuff. So I remember go to the store, buy my first couple live Phish releases, and it
Yeah,
was so fun. Like I can't even express how exciting it was to get those for the very first time and like sit down and listen to a show and just be absolutely floored, you know.
yeah.
Gosh, what was oh the Centrum 98 one?
Centrum '98.
Yeah. And Live Fish 10, I think it was 6 and 10 were the first two I bought.
And you're
Um,
talking like hard copies.
yeah, the CDs in the
Yeah,
silver case, with the
yeah,
plastic thing that eventually like melted.
yeah. They just like they just disintegrate after a while.
Yeah. So that was really fun experience, just getting those for the first time for like a couple of years. But my next shows were Vegas '04.
Oh, cool.
I wasn't ready to go anywhere too far, but I was like, when they come back to the West Coast, I'm ready to like do a whole run and
Yeah,
figure out what my place in this crazy scene is.
yeah.
So as soon as they announced Vegas, April '04, I like called my dad because none of my friends, they were like, what are you talking about? Like, I
Did
was
I hear
sort of,
Vegas?
yeah, I was sort of on a solo tip with the Phish thing for quite a while before I was so deep into it that my friends had no choice but to like listen to my
Okay, let's get on
ranting.
board. Yeah.
So I was like, Dad, I need to go to Vegas. I've never been there before. I turned 21 in '03 in April for my first show in '03. So I was like 22, never been to Vegas before. I was like, Dad, let's go to Vegas. So me and my dad drive to Vegas.
Oh, wicked.
Uh, and everybody remembers that as a terrible run. It's like CK5 wasn't even there. It
Oh,
was,
really?
yeah, it was like, as far as I know, some of the only shows he's ever missed. Um, they
Does
had like
anyone
the lighting director from Dave Matthews Band,
really?
but
Does anyone know why?
I don't remember, but I hadn't seen Fish enough to know. I knew the lights were sick, but like I didn't know what integral locked in part of the whole thing that CK5 was. So I was like, lights look great to me. Like
Yeah,
I knew the
don't
show
know a
was a little
difference.
sloppy, but I was thrilled
Yeah,
regardless. Like
yeah,
every song, every night. Took my dad to the Sunday show, which is will always be real memorable. My fourth show. Take my dad. They did the Squirming Coil page outro to close the show, and that's just.
what was your dad's reaction? Like up until like he went to that first show with you, was he outside of just knowing that you're like super into this band, had he listened to anything? What was his reaction after seeing him?
Well, he always really liked music, but he was not so much of like a jammer or like didn't listen to the Grateful Dead or anything.
Gotcha.
He's more into like Bob Seger.
Right on. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen Bob Seger together too.
Yeah.
But he's a real easygoing, like open-minded guy. So he had a great time.
That's awesome. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like going to another rock show,
Yeah. And I remember after it was all over, like days later, and I was like, "What was your favorite part?" And his favorite parts were David Bowie, which is like, wow, my dad loves this song. Like,
Yeah.
and then the Coil outro. You know, it's just beautiful. For I don't care who you are.
Yeah. I mean, you're just sitting there listening to like, unless you like have something or like really hate the piano, like it's kind of hard
Right.
to to not like that.
You
That's
know.
cool, man. I mean, I've never got to see a show. I mean, I guess I should take it back. I've never invited, either one of my parents to see Phish with me, but that would be a pretty cool experience. I would think, to like share that. Like you have this like world that you're like letting them into, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that was only my fourth show.
yeah,
Like I guess at that point there was like a seed planted in my mind that I was going to get to 100 one day, you know.
yeah. Have
Which
have
I
you hit that
did.
mark?
Which I did this Halloween. This last Halloween was my 100th show.
Oh wow, congrats, dude.
So that
That's
was like yeah.
not many other not it's so funny just hearing myself congratulate you on that. How many other like fan bases of a band like where someone's like, "Oh, I've been to 100 shows," where someone's like, "Hey, congrats, that's really cool."
Right. There's
But
just
that's
something about this band. I don't know. We're nerds. We like the stats.
yeah.
Whatever. It's like it's just something that every Phish fan that sees a lot of shows sort of has that in the back of their mind somewhere.
Yeah,
I
it's
wonder if
it's
I'm gonna get
funny because it's almost like if you take it to like the video game realm, it's almost like you like leveled up a certain or got like another patch, like on your shirt. You're like,
there.
seen
Right.
this many shows, because I'm at I think right now I'm at 53 or 54. And I remember hitting my 50th show. I was like, yes. It's like a small badge, that I'm like, yeah, got one.
Nice round numbers.
Yeah. Yes. Um, so getting deeper into Phish now that you're, 100 shows in, you have to have some favorite jams of all time. And one of the hard questions I like to ask on here is the desert island. Like, if you can only pick one jam to listen to Phish the rest of your life, what are you going with?
Man, yeah, I've been thinking about this. Um, it's hard. I got it down to two.
Okay.
But I guess out of the two, I got to go with the longer one. So I go Boise Bag.
Boise Bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Boise Bag, dude. And I remember very vividly the first time that I heard that. And it's so funny because I had heard people say, "Oh, Boise Bag," on the Pog, like talking
Mhm.
with Boise Bag, and I would just, I know about it, but I haven't really like sat down and listened to it. And I was still back home in Oklahoma, heading up north, and turned on. I might have clicked like random show on the re-listen app or something like that, and it comes on, and it hits that part where it's like I don't know how to describe it. But the part where you're like, where it's in gear.
Yeah.
And I just remember hearing it and like looking, and I'm like, I have to see what this is, because I'm driving, and I'm like, 99 Boise Bag. I was like, oh,
Oh,
Boise Bag, and then
yeah.
it like clicked because like I'm thinking I like discovered something. I'm like, oh, I gotta tell people about this. I gotta like be like, no, you need to listen to this show, and I'm like, oh, I'm a little late on this,
Yeah,
little late.
there's so many different just six sections of that jam, like
Oh,
start, stops, and funk, and just like that Trey 99 sound where he had that
yeah.
on.
And it's like
And
that I don't know if I would call it like a darkness because like the dark part is also so melodic and like all it's like happy sad. It's like you don't know how it makes you feel. It's like almost uneasy, but
yeah.
it's perfect, man. What was the second jam that you had it narrowed down
The
to?
honorable mention is something that I play every time I've got a good party going, whether it's in a campsite or at my house or whatever. Is Island Tour Cavern.
Oh yeah, dude. Island tour. We were talking island tour on the last episode. That's such a that whole
Yeah,
thing. It's put a bow on it, dude. That's one of the best runs. But yeah, dude, the cavern for sure. It's a
yeah.
definite. party.
People, like, if I'm at a festival or something, you know, I'll play that as loud as I can. People will just stop in their tracks and come over and be like, "What is this?" If they don't know already,
Yeah.
you
Like, you
know?
don't know, man? Yeah. Dude, yeah, Island Tour, and another one that sticks out from Island Tour is, obviously, Roses Are Free.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
jam after that, and that reminds me, this is kind of a tangent, and you might know the answer to this, but on some set lists that you see, it'll say, like, "Roses Are Free," and then it'll say, like, the
Nat
name of the city,
Sidejammler.
Jam. Yeah, do you
Mhm.
know what's the meaning behind that instead of just leaving it as "Roses Are Free" for 20 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I remember, like, reading or being told that it had something to do with royalties for it being a cover song,
Oh, shit, okay.
but I don't know if that's necessarily the case. With Roses Are Free it is, but, like, with other, like, that cavern does that goes into, like, some sort of jam like that too, and that wouldn't be a cover
Yeah.
song. So, I don't know if it's, like,
It's interesting, right? It's like, what's the
yeah,
method behind it?
yeah, I'm
If you're
not
listening
sure.
or you're watching and you know the answer to this, reach out and let us know. Because that's so weird because, yeah, whenever you said the cover thing, I was like, "Okay, that makes sense," but if they do it to songs that aren't covers, then that kinda goes out the window.
Yeah,
So I'm
or do
curious.
they? I'm not really sure.
Time to do some investigating.
Yeah.
I got the Helping Friendly or the Fish book. I forget what
Yeah,
it's
the
called.
Farmer's
Yeah,
Almanac. I
yeah,
had.
yeah. The newest version of that.
I
Uh,
used to just sit and just read that thing and all the
just nerd
stories
out.
and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And now it's like it's all a few clicks away. I mean, you can look up and Google anything, but it's kinda cool to still have, like, the hard copy, it'd be like
Mhm.
flipping through. Um, Another question that I like to ask, is what because you I'm sure that at this point you've been in this situation before, because we always try to convert. We're like Jehovah's Witness out here. We're always trying to like bring people into our to our fish cult. What song or show or CD even would you play for someone that's never heard Fish, or if you're trying to get them on board to be like, hey, this is like the best band ever?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely, been in that situation plenty of times. I was thinking about this too. I mean, a big part of trying to sell somebody on some music is knowing your audience, right? So,
100%.
you know the person, you know what they like. But in a vacuum, you gotta
Hmm.
pick one song and your only goal is to get them to say, "I need to listen to another song." I'd probably go to,
Tube.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe the, New Year's Run '97 version
Yeah.
specifically,
It's like
because
just
that's just, like, the right length, you know, when you're trying to people don't have the attention span, especially people that aren't used to improvisational music, you know, people are used to, like, 4-minute songs, 5-minute
yeah.
songs.
If that. That's even
Yeah.
long nowadays,
You
yeah.
put on even like Harry Hood or like a Yem or something like that, they're like, "What's going on?" You know, they're
Yeah.
just like, "Stop paying attention" after like 10
Yeah,
minutes.
getting through, like, a major composed section just to get to some meat, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Tube gets to like that real hot funk, and it's like you're gonna like nod your head to this and
Yeah.
no more.
That's, like, the only questions you ask. You're like, "Do you like to dance?" And they're like, "Yeah." You're like, "Okay." You're like, "I'm gonna fast forward about 3 minutes." But, yeah, no, that's a solid answer, and it's hard to not, um to hear that, and just if you like music, any type of music, it's kinda hard to hear that and be like, "No, that sucks." It's like,
Right.
"What do you mean?" Like to bob around a little bit? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, yeah. I haven't actually looked it up in a long time, but I wanted to bring this up because it's a really fun fish memory.
Go for it.
And Hicks was there from the pod.
Okay.
Shout out Hicks. Uh, and like some other Portland fish folks, I don't know what year this was, but you know who Carrie Brownstein is
Yeah.
from Portlandia.
Yep.
Well, she had like a music blog on, I think it was somewhere on NPR,
Okay. Yeah,
and
because
I don't.
her and Fred both, they're like musicians at heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's in Sleater-Kinney, or still
Yeah.
is. I wonder if this is still out here on the interwebs. It probably is. There was one. She lived in Portland. Oh yeah, just Google Carrie Brownstein Phish, and she did like this series where she had never heard of Phish, and she was like, "I'm going into this with an open mind. I got to figure out why these fans are so crazy about this, right?"
Yeah.
And it's like a multi-part update number 10. Like if you go through here, she's listening. So she does a meetup, and she lived here in Portland, July 17th, 2009. So I'm featured in this video as I'm trying to,
No way.
convince Carrie to like come to the Gorge with me in a RV. And like, everybody's just bringing all these CDs. There's a bunch of people. We met up at this pub, Moon and Sixpence, and uh, so it's like that question of yours on steroids, where it's a famous person who's openly trying to understand Phish, and everybody is playing out this idea of what do we give her? What's the one thing that's gonna make it click for her?
Yeah. Especially her being a musician. Is this a video series that you're talking about, or is this just like a podcast or what?
Um, it was called Monitor Mix. It was an NPR like music blog, I guess, that she
Okay.
did.
I'm gonna find it, or you can send it to me and I'll put a link. I'll put a link in this video to it so people can check it out.
Yeah, it's like a 5-minute video. Monitor Mix meets Portland Phish,
That's awesome.
and it was really fun.
And what year
She
was
didn't
that?
want to record with me though. Huh?
What year was
It was
that?
'09. It was
Oh
it
nine.
was July '09.
Wow.
The event was part of a week-long theme, How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Phish. And she just left with like stacks and stacks of everybody's favorite shows.
So she's got probably a bigger like hard copy catalog of Phish than
Yeah,
most
well, if she
fans.
kept them, I don't know. I don't know if we ultimately succeeded or not. I think
Or at
she
one
liked
point
us
she
more
did.
than the music.
Yeah. That's funny though, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, it
It-
was pretty cool.
yeah. I wonder. Yeah, no, she has to, at least if she really was doing that out and not just like trying to make a bit out of it of like making fun of the fans. Her being a musician and liking music, she has to at least be like,
Yeah,
even if she doesn't listen to him now, just nod the tip of the cap. Like, yeah,
yeah, oh, definitely.
yeah,
Acknowledge the
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 greatness.
talent. Yeah, acknowledge the
Yeah.
greatness for sure. Yeah,
Um,
she was really cool about it. She
that
was
is
trying to
cool.
get it, but think how many angles people come at you from trying to
Yeah,
convince you to like this band, because everybody
yeah.
likes something different about it.
And I'm sure she saw so many people, like, I'm sure there were, like, just normal Phish nerds there, like, "Hey, dad, no, check this out," and I'm sure that there were some, like, Wookiee ones, like, "Hey, no, like, listen, man, it's like God is, like, in this music." I'm sure she met a lot of characters, man, but if she lived in Portland, I mean, she's used to that.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, talking songs that we're not crazy about that Phish plays, because we all have at least one, whether we want to admit it or not. What is one or a couple of Phish songs that you would be okay with never hearing again?
Yeah, thinking about this is kind of fun too, because like, you could go with the layup and say something that everybody's gonna, agree with, but what's fun is that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta go with the hot take. So, I mean, first, let's just say that on New Year's when they played TTE this year, it was freaking hilarious.
It was. It was like that was the gag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I immediately, yeah, before we get into this, because I'm sitting here watching it just like everyone else, and they go into it, and I was like, oh my God. And I immediately get on Twitter just to like see what Phish Twitter is saying. Everybody's like, this is the gag. And there's other people like, I love this song. Like, you guys are crazy and everything. But
Yeah.
I was just laughing. I was happy. I wasn't bummed at all. I was just like, this is
No.
hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
this is the greatest ever. And it didn't sound that bad. Like, you could tell they had like rehearsed it. Like, it didn't sound that bad. I wasn't like, going outside to like have a smoke break or anything.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Literally never thought I would hear him play it again, though.
Yeah, I know. Because they get the memo,
Right, they know.
Yeah.
But there's nobody to watch file out. There's no audience.
Yeah. Like, we're going to play this song and then we're not going to hear any boos. We're not going to see anybody leave. You're going to listen to it. You're going to like it.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, bitches.
Anyway, to answer the question, my hot take song that I go to the bathroom for and know I'm going to have it to myself is Scent of a Mule.
Oh, okay. And what is it about Scent of a Mule?
I don't know, man. It's just not for me. There's just something about it that just it's a time for me to take a break when I'm not gonna have lines.
Yep. Yeah.
I can get out and get back by the time that song's over and be in good shape.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I can see, because I'm not with you. Like, I like that song, but it's kind of a weird using the word weird to describe Phish. Who am I? But it's kind of like a weird genre-less song. Like, it doesn't fit really into like bluegrass. It doesn't really fit into like rock. Like, it's just like a weird.
It's got that kind of like I don't know. I'm not gonna get canceled or something. So it's like Russian sounding, like da, 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 da.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. It's like I don't know the word. It's ethnic, maybe style of beat. It's I understand why you would go, but yeah, no, I dig on it. That's I didn't expect that answer. Which
I
is,
figured
which is
that
a
would
good
be
one.
unexpected.
Yeah, because you're right. Like, and I haven't really yet had anyone take like the low hanging fruit. They're like, oh, Farmhouse or Bug or what, whatever Love and Light song, that everybody's hating on right now. No one really takes the low hanging fruit. But Sin of a Mule. Interesting.
The other one that people get real excited about, and I just roll my eyes and wait for it to be over, is Big Black Furry Creature from Mars.
See, and I will admit this now because I feel like I'm far enough in to where I can have my own Phish opinions.
Yeah.
The Big Black Furry Creatures from Mars, like, first time I heard that, I was like, I don't get it. Why is everybody, so like it? Because I understood, like your Ghost, your Tweezer, like I understood the concept of the band, but then it's like, oh, Big Black Furry Creature from Mars. I'm like, this just sounds like a very, grade school song. It sounds like a bunch of fifth graders wrote this song. But I mean, every time that it would come on, like a show that we're listening to or something like that, I'd be like, oh yeah, Big Black Furry Creature from Mars, yeah. But yeah, I'm with you, man. It's
people go nuts. They love it.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's like just because it's an early song or what, but I'm with you on that one.
It's just Phish doing whatever the hell they want,
Yeah. I am kind of curious though with that song, like how did that come to be? Big Black
Check the almanac.
Yeah. Check the almanac. Get the almanac out. But those are two solid ones. I would, if we were at a show together and either one of those came on, I'd be like, yeah, we can go. Maybe not Sin of a Mule, but Big Black Furry Creature from Mars. I'd be like, okay, let's go get a beer.
Yeah.
Another one. First, before we get into this, have you ever met or hung out with a member?
Yeah, I mean, not hung out too much, and this story was already told on this podcast.
As I asked that, I was like, "Oh shit, you're who Dave was with."
Yeah, we met Fishman, so that was definitely my best experience meeting anyone. I mean, I've met Mike Gordon a couple times. Once just on the golf cart, and once at Cervantes during the Dick's run.
That's cool.
But I think he mostly came up to like hit on my girl, and then like it was cool. Like we were talking for about like 2 minutes before somebody came up and was like, "Bro, you rock!" And then he just walked straight out the door.
But yeah, no. So now that I'm putting this together, it shows you how great my memory is. We heard Dave's version, of the story where you guys met Fishman. And, in his version, he gets up, goes to the bathroom. He doesn't know what's going on in your head whenever you're there because you guys are like, oh, yeah, no, we'll leave him alone. We're having some beers. So Dave gets up, goes to the bathroom. What clicks in your head? So you're like, fuck it, I'm going over there.
Right? Yeah, I don't remember like thinking, oh, I'm not gonna do this. I had to. Like, I never had an opportunity to meet the guy, and he's, it seems to me like probably the most fun. I mean, meeting Trey would be a thrill, obviously, but
Sure.
Richmond is, probably more like me than any of the four of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't remember what I said. Just like, hey man, just wanted to say you guys are great,
Like sweaty palms and everything.
And he was super. Yeah, he was so laid back. So we just started. I was like, oh, I've always wanted to know whatever. What I remember asking him, because I know Dave asked, what song would you be okay not playing ever again? The question you just asked, he asked Fishman.
Yeah.
And I remember Fishman saying "Sample in a Jar." But the other part of the conversation that really I remember is I asked him if he likes playing Purple Rain. And he said no. He said all that shit Trey makes him do. He doesn't like it.
Like the hold your head up and all that stuff. Yeah.
So that was hilarious. He's like, no, I don't actually like it.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny. The other thing that was really cool that happened is he was there with his buddy, unassuming guy sitting there wearing his Cubs hat, and he just introduces himself as Jeff, and I introduce myself, and I look closer at him. I go, Jeff Austin, and he was Jeff Austin from Yonder Mountain String Band. They were buddies. They were there hanging out in Chicago.
Dude, Dave
did not mention that part. Yonder. I've met Jeff a lot of times over the years because they have, Yonder had this festival out here, Northwest String Summit, that I was a part of for like 13 years straight. So that was cool. They were there hanging out together and just had a little bit of back chat.
Dude, yeah, Dave didn't mention that Jeff Austin was there. That's, rest in peace, man. That one was a hard hitter for me because, like, just like you said, like, I mean, I didn't get to go to like all the, what's it? It's not Horning's Hideout, is it? Yeah, Horning's Hideout. Yeah, I didn't get to go to all those. I went to one, but we would all go see Yonder in Tulsa, Oklahoma at Cain's. They would all come through there like once a year, once every 2 years, and it was just like a big like you knew everybody there, and it's that one sucked, man. But that's cool. You got to meet Jeff Austin, like, and Fishman. You're like getting bang for your buck, man. So did Jeff Austin weigh in on anything, or was he just kind of like?
Not that I recall. He was pretty in social situations a lot. He was kind of quiet, as opposed to like the maniac you saw on stage.
Yeah, kind of withdrawn. He's like, I'm sure they saw you coming up, and he's like, God, here we go. We got a fan here. But that's cool, man. Yeah, so you met Fishman and Jeff Austin. That's wicked cool, dude. I haven't met any members. I take that back. I didn't meet any of them, but I got to see Mike and, be like, hey, what's up, on the golf cart and stuff. But outside of that, I haven't got to meet any of them or anything like that. Fishman would be my go-to. I would be like, yeah, I want to hang out with Fishman.
He's gonna
yeah. I'm not gonna feel like I have to like be like asking the right questions or like being cool. I can just, hey, no, it's Fishman. Yeah, what's up, man? Just hang out. I know we talked about a few, but any like standout memories that you've had over your 100 shows to where, one, that you're comfortable with sharing, and two, that are just like those crazy stories to where you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to forget this.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a lot, as you can imagine. Like, by the time you've been to 100 Phish shows, you've got
some stories.
You've forgotten more crazy stuff that you've done than a lot of people end up with,
Yeah.
But a couple that come to mind. There's a fellow from the Pog that you know is What's the Use?
Yeah.
The
Yep.
drummer of the Jaunty. He's one
Hmm.
of my best buds. We've seen a lot of Phish shows together, and one of the all time great Phish adventures was me and him driving from the Greek to Telluride in 2010. We just got in the car after the third night of the Greek and drove,
To
across
Telluride.
California, Nevada, into Utah all night. It's like a 12-hour drive to
Yeah.
his folks had a place in Park City. So we got there like in the morning, crashed for a few hours, and then the drive into Telluride is just incredible. If you've ever
Oh,
been
I'm sure
there.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty outstanding. So, we always say that was our like Hunter S. Thompson moment.
Oh,
We're
I'm
going
sure
to
it
the
was.
backcountry, like in Nevada, literally.
Where all these goddamn bats come from?
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
was super fun. Me and him did another one where after the 2009 MSG run, I went to the show in Charlottesville. I just like tacked that onto my trip because there were so many poggers, and like got to meet RJ and McGrupp and Black Boom, and a bunch of folks down there, Mandy, and so we left New York City to drive to Charlottesville and see the show that night. It was snowing,
Ooh.
and that doesn't happen out here very often.
Right.
So driving like on 95 out of New York to Virginia in the snow, me and Scott, we barely knew each other at the time. This is '09, so this is long before the Greek Telluride thing. So that was
Yeah.
pretty good. And then another like massive drive that I did was the New Year's run at the end, 10 into 11. They played the two in Worcester, or however one would pronounce that correctly.
Worcester. Yeah, no, we've hammered that part down now. We know it's Worcester.
um,
You got so much shit for that.
and it was snowing heavily, and I've never like had a trip canceled on me because of weather on the other end, but like my flights got canceled,
Ah,
and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna miss my first New Year's at Madison Square Garden. Like, I can't allow this to happen. And I
yeah.
was going by myself, like meeting people there, but I was traveling by myself. Only option I had to make this happen was to fly into Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I flew into Pittsburgh the morning of the beginning of the run. That's a long drive.
Morning of?
Yeah,
Oh
drove
my God.
500 miles from Pittsburgh. Pulled in. There's freaking snow. Oh man.
So what time did you get there? Like,
There's I got there probably like an hour before the show or something. It
that's
was it was an all day adventure of me driving by myself all the way across Pennsylvania, Connecticut
in
to get to
shitty weather.
Massachusetts. Horrible weather, but made it to the show, and it was, you know, I remember that night sitting there. McGrupp was behind me, and they played Mountains in the Mist. And there's that line, but I'm here at least, and put his hand on my shoulder, and I was like,
You're like,
made
okay,
it, and did the
I'm
New
here.
Year's run.
Dude, those are the worst too, because like if you've done enough shows, like you've at least had one situation like that to where you're pulling up like to the venue, like there's like 3 minutes until they go on, and it's just like after a full day, like you're stuck, and then you're driving in the shitty snow, and like you get there, and you're just like still like jet lagged, if you will, and you're just like, oh my
Right,
God.
right. Then the lights go down, and you made it.
Yeah,
It's a
it
great
all melts
feeling.
away, and then you sleep like a baby.
Right, right.
Dude, I've enjoyed having you on the show, man. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, it's been
Um,
fun.
and anything else like that I mean, I know you're in your new place and everything. Anything else like that pops in your head before we wrap up here, related to Phish or even not related to Phish, just that you like want to share? Summer tour predictions. I know we see the rumors and stuff.
Gosh, yeah, I don't know. it's been a really good year, like for Phish.
Yeah.
This last tour was freaking unbelievable. You know, every single night had something that was like mind blowing.
Yeah.
We went to the Eugene shows. The second night of Eugene was so good. It was
Yep.
amazing. Halloween run, you know,
Oh, you
couldn't
did the
ask
Halloween?
for much more. You
Yeah.
know, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Um,
This past year of Phish has been it's it is a different era. Like they're playing on a different level than anything since '09. It's they're dialed the fuck in and I'm here for it, dude.
yeah, yeah. I saw 9 shows in the past year after taking a couple off. I mean,
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that many shows in a year since God, like 2011.
Wow.
But I had to make up for lost time, you know, COVID.
Yeah.
So
COVID kind of put
once
it.
it all added up, that my 100th show was going to be the night of Halloween.
Oh.
I had to, you know.
Yeah. Dude, you
I
couldn't
had
ask
to.
for a better.
Yeah, the only Halloween show I've missed during 3.0 was the Cast Fought Backs.
Oh,
Didn't make
okay.
that one, but been to all the rest, and I was ready to go. But then once that math worked out, I
Yeah.
was all in.
Dude, that is awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I hope that our next conversation is at a Phish show
All that Phish
and
show. I sure hope so,
in
man.
real life. And I'm ready to see you on tour, ready to get this show back on the road. And once again, thanks for taking the time, Heath. And we'll see you on the next one, man.
All right. Thanks, Clay. Take it easy,
Thanks,
man.
buddy.